G'day guys, Sam Bruce here with Greg Growden for week 3 of our Super Rugby Tipping for footytips.com.au. Greg, nice to see you.
Great to be here, Sam.
We'll kick things off with the Highlanders and the Reds battling over there in Dunedin at Forsyth Bar Stadium. Highlanders first up last week, had the week 1 bye and then just got dusted by the Crusaders.
Yeah, good performance against the Crusaders, and I think this is the week where they will really shine. And I know I was one of the very few who didn't jump off the Reds last week. I know everyone thought with all the kerfuffle in Brisbane, there's no hope. And I thought, rule number 1 of tipping, don't change your tips. So, but still.
Well, I obviously wasn't aware of that rule, Greg, because about 5 minutes before kick-off, once James O'Connell was ruled out, I quickly, on the mobile app, changed my tip and, of course, dropped from 4 for the week to 3. So what do you like? Can the Reds go make it 2 in a row this week?
No, I don't think so. I think the Highlanders... The game last week, perfect build-up for this. The Reds got away with it last week because of the opposition. The Force decided not to play football. And again, the Reds are way off their best, and it's going to be a while till we see it. They've again got problems this week. There's uncertain who's going to play and whatever. So in this game, I think Highlanders by a handy margin.
And of course, Carmichael Hunt, which we'll talk about in Ruck and more. On to the Force and the Hurricanes. The Force's first home game for the year over at NIB Stadium. The Sea of Blue must be wrapped with the boys finally returning to Perth against the Hurricanes, who are 2 from 2 in South Africa, and this is a key game for them heading home. Yeah,
the Hurricanes are the big surprise. Outstanding performance to come home from South Africa with 2 wins, particularly on the veldt. Not many have done it over the last 19 years of this tournament. And I think they'll kick on. I think coming back, perfect. It's a leapfrog. They're now in Perth. They would have been there most of the week. The Force, you saw all the inadequacies of them last week. They're the leeches. They suck off oppositions. And if oppositions play smart against them, play territory, don't be too expansive, they can beat the Force. Because the Force, again, we still don't know much about their back line. Reasonable pack, but apart from that, the pack got showed up last week. They were outscrummed by Queensland. So I think Hurricanes to keep the roll going.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think the word out of South Africa that the Hurricanes forwards have actually been getting the job done, and their backs, their superstar backline, really haven't set the world on fire so far. So maybe this week we see the best of Bowden Barrett and Smith and Nono.
Great backline. As you say, eventually it's going to click for the Hurricanes. We've been waiting years and years and years. It's there. Again, we're showing they could well be the surprise team. They could be the team we didn't expect to get through because of that backline.
Next up, it's the Cheetahs and Blues over in Bloemfontein. Cheetahs had the week 2 bye, while the Blues are 0-2 and staring down the barrel at another long season.
Yeah, this sounds like a really top game, this one. The Cheetahs, you're right, they surprised, had a week off. So I'm just going for them because, again, the Blues are in trouble. I've been reading, again, the New Zealand newspapers that John Kerwin's under pressure. When's he going to produce? All that's frothing away. So, yeah, I think there'll be more questions next week. I think the Cheetahs will get up.
Cheetahs for me too. Chiefs and Crusaders there in Hamilton. These two sides have played some absolutely fantastic games over the last 3 or 4 years, and this one probably won't be any different in Hamilton.
That's right. I suppose it will depend on whether Sonny Bill's playing or not. But still, I thought last week's game, Chiefs Brumbies, outstanding game, good quality. The Chiefs do look good, and they showed they've got the backup as well if good players are not there to step up. So, tough one this one. And again, I think it's just going to be simply home ground. Hamilton, back at home. They were in New Plymouth last week. So I just think Chiefs, but not by much.
Yeah, I think very
maybe
tight.
Even a draw.
Very tight as well. I think Sonny Bill, yeah, as you say, not sure whether he'll be back this week. And also Sam Cane was a late scratching last week. So if they get those two back, I think that might just tip things in the Chiefs' favour. Following that game in Hamilton, we've got the Rebels hosting the Brumbies down there in Melbourne. Rebels probably a little bit unlucky not to pick up 2 bonus points last week and maybe even the win, Greg.
I agree. I think the Waratahs are very lucky they got over the Rebels. The Rebels, I thought, had the more impressive players. They just didn't get it together in the last 10 minutes, and I think the Waratahs' experience of being in the finals last year, winning something works. And that does give you, when teams win tournaments, they know how to win the tight ones such as this game. But still, the Rebels, very encouraging. Mike Harris had another good game. Terrific signing for the Rebels from the Reds. But still, I just got a feeling it might be similar to last week's game. The Brumbies do look good. They played very well in last week. And I just, again, think, like the Waratahs, a bit too much class for the Rebels.
Okay, on to the Bulls taking on the Sharks in Pretoria, and some news out of South Africa over the last 48 hours. Famed donut eater, as you described him in our pre-talk chat here, Greg, Ollie LaRue, of course, a Springboks cult hero from yesteryear, describing Victor Matfield as playing like an old man and at risk of
playing like a donut.
Playing like a donut and tainting his outstanding legacy.
Well, the point is, I think he might have a point, because I know I looked upon Victor Matfield as one of the players to watch this year, primarily because of this. Can a guy who's approaching 40 still keep going in such a tough position? And it's showing, it's starting to fray. They're having problems at line-out time, scrum time, which is so strange for the Bulls. Their strength for so long has been their set piece, and it's fallen apart. So I've got a feeling they could have further pain on the weekend, even though they're not playing at home. And I think the Sharks, even though they're struggling a bit, I think this is a game where you're going to see the real power come through. I'm going to go Sharks.
Recapping your tips then, Gregan, you've gone the Highlanders, the Hurricanes, the Cheetahs, the Chiefs, the Brumbies, the Sharks and the Stormers. And fresh off a big move last weekend, you must be confident.
I am after the first week, which you and I had absolute shockers. But what happened this week? I stuck with the Reds, even though with all the hassles over Carmichael Hunt and James O'Connor, it was the old theory, don't change your tips. And I think that got me ahead. But yeah, I'm back on track.
Of course, that's in the ESPN Scrum Superstars Tipping League, where Andy Withers and Britt Mitchell made a little bit of a move upwards. I'm still languishing, but of course it's overall where we really need to look at, and that's Richie, who's leading the league with 12 points. While across the whole footytips.com.au, Bomber, Ian Kershaw and Christine Tolley are leading with an impressive 13 points, and that's from 21,000 people.
That's not bad. Is Bomber actually Bomber the dog that used to bring out the kicking
He's back.
Did Nathan Spoon the Reds? I hope so, because I think he's one of the highlights of Super Rugby. I'm upset that I didn't put him in my highlights of that piece I did. Bomber the dog, that was sensational when players used to complain about a ball being drooling wet and so on. Great moments.
And tipping like a genius this year, apparently. Remember to enter your tips each week to go into the draw to win an all-expenses-paid trip to the Bledisloe Cup in Auckland this year. And, of course, all your rugby news is at espnscrum.com, Super Rugby, Six Nations. Greg, you'll be back next week?
Certainly hope so.
Looking forward to it.